Couch time with Ryan and Tiffany.
Part 2, we want to talk about some of the memberships we have. We talked a little bit about non-camping related memberships, but first I just have to point something out. I look like a scrub and you're like all fancy. What happened?
We went to church this morning and I haven't changed yet.
I changed and she didn't.
And
it was hotter than I thought it would be.
Yes,
Sun is out.
Ryan wore jeans, and which you should never do in Florida. Ryan wore jeans and a long sleeve button up shirt.
So as soon as we got home we made lunch and I changed. But today is day
19.
Welcome to Vlogmas Day 19. So today we want to talk about some of the other memberships that we have found hugely beneficial to full-time traveling.
Yes.
With kids or without, this doesn't really matter.
No.
But which one should we start with first?
How about, do you want to start with, we have a little list. You want to start with this?
No, probably the next one.
Okay.
So start.
Harvest Host. So we are Harvest Host members, which means that we can stay on someone else's property, and that is things like breweries or museums, golf courses, that kind of thing. We have stayed at several of them throughout the U.S. as we traveled out west this past year. We stayed at I'm blanking.
So we've stayed at Alpaca Farms. Was Alpaca or Llama?
Alpaca.
So we stayed at Alpaca Farms. We stayed at several breweries, a couple museums.
Washington, we stayed at a farm that had cherries.
Yes, it was an orchard.
Yes.
Just north of Spokane. It was awesome. Being able to walk the grounds after they closed and check out the apple trees and the cherry trees and just see all the different fruits they had. And they had a really nice jam store. So we were able to go get Huckleberry Jam, and it was phenomenal. So good that I opened it. So we got there, on a Monday night, we'll say. I opened it, bought some Monday night, and then Tuesday morning we had it with breakfast, and it was so good I went back and bought more.
Bought another one.
Because I was like, this isn't going to last. So we've been able to stay at a ton of Harvest Hosts. There is a yearly fee, and that gets you access to their app, which basically gives you access to all of the sites. So for most sites, you're able to just reach out to the owner or the property manager, whoever's doing it. There's an email or a form you fill out, and you submit it. Usually you can do it just the day before you're going to arrive. Some of them want 24 hours notice and things like that.
And it tells you on all of them. There's reviews, there's pictures.
Yes.
It's an amazing app that shows you all kinds of different things.
And they have 2 levels of membership. They have what we have, which is the breweries, the farms, the museums, places like that. And then they have an optional add-on for golf. We did not do the golf add-on because the way Harvest Host works, the benefit to the property owner is that they expect you to spend $20 at least, because it's basically in lieu of getting a campsite. So we use it a lot instead of Walmart's or Bass Pro Shops and things like that. So when we are traveling from point A to point B and we just need that break in between and we don't want to hook up at a campground or anything like that or have that larger expense, this is great for those just traveling from one destination to another. So Harvest Host has been huge, and we've stayed at some awesome locations, and we plan to use it, continuing to use it, because our kids just absolutely love, getting that interaction with the owner or the manager or whoever it is. At some of the farms we've been to, they take them out, let them feed animals and.
Yes, the alpacas. We got to go inside with the owner, Wendy, and feed the alpacas, and that was so cool.
And they all had names, and then Tip got a scarf.
Yes.
An alpaca fur? Wool? We'll say wool. Scarf. So it was really cool. And we've just, been able to stay at some really unique places and get, private tours of museums and things like that. The flight museum in Idaho was so cool. So we've just been able to stay at some really cool, unique locations that we wouldn't normally have gotten to experience without Harvest Host. So that is a huge one. We have a link down below with the discount to Harvest Host. So if you're interested in signing up, feel free to use our link. We would appreciate that down below.
Or if you have questions, let us know down below too.
If you've stayed at a Harvest Host, what is your favorite Harvest Host?
Tell us your favorite.
Which one would you say is our favorite?
That's hard. what was the last one we just did?
The Roy Rogers
Roy
Museum.
Rogers Museum. That was really cool because we got to go into the museum.
Will Rogers? Will Rogers.
Will
Rogers. I kept getting them mixed up, but it's the Will Rogers Museum just outside Tulsa, Oklahoma.
I think my favorite would have been, though, either the alpaca farm, which is...
that was in Montana.
Yes, and that was one of the most beautiful sunsets we've ever seen. And then the other one was the farm in Washington.
Yeah, that one was really cool. I like both of those. It's definitely a toss-up. So we probably have stayed at a dozen Harvest Hosts, mostly on the south and west part of the country. But number two,
Passport America?
Passport America is another huge one that we've used. Passport America gives you 50% off of campsites, and they've got hundreds of campsites all over the country that they are members or participating in. And the place that we have saved the most money, I want to say, they have, again, several different types of memberships. They have a single year, a 2 year, and then like a lifetime. I think we did, when we signed up, they had a buy a year, get 3 months free. And I believe it was $65 for the 18 months. And so we have saved, at one campground, we saved over $450 with our Passport America membership.
That was the Yellowstone, right?
Yep, Yellowstone. So Yellowstone, what was the name of that one?
Was it Yellowstone Valley Inn? Yellowstone
Valley Inn, just in between Cody, Wyoming, and the east entrance to Yellowstone. Their season, and what you have to look for with Passport America when you sign up, there'll be notes. They have an app, and there'll be notes for the campground. So some campgrounds have blackouts, essentially. So, you can't stay, on holidays, and get the discount. You can stay, you just don't get a Passport America discount. So with that one, we were able to get in before their discount expired for the season, because their season kind of goes June through September, we'll say. So we got in May into the first week of June, so we were able to work it where we were able to stay 10 days at 50% off for all 10 days. So it saved us
Yellowstone.
Significant amount of money.
Yeah.
So was more than paid for the membership.
And it was a really nice campground. That was a good
all
the way around.
And then that has allowed us to stay at multiple other campgrounds. We stayed at Alabama for a few nights, but the huge benefit to Passport America is getting 50% off campgrounds all over the country. And they're full hookups typically. Some might be $10 for a night, and then it's $3 more for a full hookup site. So, there are some stipulations here and there, but having Passport America has saved us a ton of money at some of those, places where we normally wouldn't have been able to stay.
I think Brandon and Megan told us about that, right?
Yes, I don't remember. It was probably them because we stayed at the same as Passport America together. So to sign up for Passport America, and then you can stay here and get 50% off. So we've used it probably a dozen times, over the last year.
Because we love Thousand Trails, but they are more coastal.
Mm-hmm.
So when we were in the center of the United States, that's when we had to pay and use Harvest Hosts and those kinds of things to help keep our costs down so that we could, budget-friendly travel like this.
So then I think that's a good segue into Thousand Trails, which we've talked about several times, but we are Thousand Trails members. I've said it, I'll say it again, I'll probably say it a few more times. We could not full-time without Thousand Trails. We're at Thousand Trails in Orlando right now. We're here for 3 weeks, and we could not afford, to stay 3 weeks at a campground like this. There are hundreds of families here that we're able to enjoy the Christmas season with.
Yes.
But Thousand Trails has saved us tons of money, and we have other videos on Thousand Trails, so we won't spend a lot of time talking about it.
So check those out.
We'll put
highly
some links.
recommend. If you have any questions, then just let us know.
We
highly recommend.
We gained a third.
Pretty little girl.
Do you like Thousand Trails?
Where we're at now.
Where we're at now. Yes. Thumbs up from Amaya.
There's one that I just realized we didn't write down.
What's that?
Good Sam. Chime in.
So Good Sam's is one that could have gone on yesterday's list or today's list because Good Sam's has discounts at Camping World and things like that. So typically when people sign up for Good Sam's, they're signing up through Camping World. And we have been able to save significant amount of money. Like we replaced our toilet. And
certain things that you kind of really need to buy at Camping World.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so they have, a member price and a retail price, and it's usually, 5 to 10% difference. Sometimes it's significantly more. They have specific discounts and things like that that go on during seasons where members can get specific savings So it's Good Sam's, and then they also have campground savings to tie it into today's video. Typically at Good Sam's you can get 10% off campgrounds, and there's no list. It's just people are partners with Good Sam's, and they just offer a Good Sam's discount, typically 10%. So that is a good point, Tiff.
Thanks.
So another app that we use is Allstays, and Allstays is not necessarily for discounts and things like that, but it helps us find campgrounds or places like Walmarts or truck stops or things like that that are RV friendly, because people can leave reviews and say, hey, I pulled into this Walmart. It said, no camping, but I went ahead and I called and asked the manager, and they said, yes, you can stay overnight. So people leave reviews like that, so you can kind of, see what you're getting into to see if, on your route, is this a place that you can stop or not? There's not a Passport America, there's not a Harvest Host, and I'm stopping at a Walmart. So Allstays is an app I use to kind of see what's in the area, or if there's not a Passport America, 1,000 Trails, a Harvest Host, what other campgrounds? Is there another private campground that we can stay at? Is there a state park, a national park? And then I can, click the link and it takes me to the site where I can then, book the campground. So Allstays is a great app, and also shows things like low bridges, things like that you have to be concerned with, grade changes. So it's a great app. It shows truck stops, Cracker Barrels, everything RV related. There's different search functions, so you can say, I want to search for propane in this area. It shows you all of those things. So Allstays is an app we use. I look at it. It's an app I scan on drive days. Before we, the day before we go out, so we're planning our routes. It's an app I look at to make sure there are no low bridges or anything like that to be concerned with.
Yes, you need to know the exact height of your rig, because you need to have that number. I've heard of people putting it on like a label or something up in their dash, so that in a moment's notice, and you can look down and what that is. So you never want to be surprised. We've seen some pictures, thankfully never in person, we've seen some pictures of some major damage from people not clearing the underpass.
Yes.
So I have a question real quick. So let's tell them, why would you stay at a Walmart parking lot?
Because it's free.
It's free. So if you're going from point A to point B and you're on a mission and you just need to get here, but it's a little too long to drive one day, then we will stop at a Walmart, because you're not stopping there to camp. You're stopping to sleep. We have arrived at 7 o'clock at night, and then we leave 7, 8 o'clock in the morning. Yes. So you're not there very long. So to pay 50, 60, sometimes into the hundreds to stop and stay for 12 hours, we would rather just stay at a Walmart, and we always go in and go grocery shopping.
Yes.
And so we pay them back in that way, and then in the morning, we're respectful and we leave and, get out of there before it starts getting busy for them.
And you always park, out of the way, we always try to park along a curb on our passenger side, so we can put this slide out, because that's where our beds are, so that way we can get access to the bunk beds easy. The boys don't have access. I don't think we've ever put both slides out at a Walmart, just this one. Occasionally, there's only probably been one time where we put the other slide out instead, like we couldn't get parked, we couldn't get situated to where we could put the driver's side or the passenger slide out, our big slide. So we've done the passenger one just to give us, or the kitchen slide just to give us a little more room for dinner and things like that. But
and a side note, if you are looking into buying an RV, I would highly recommend looking at it with the slides in.
Yes.
And figuring out the dynamics as to, can you all get to your sleeping locations with the slides in and still use them? Because there are instances where we have had to have the slides in all night. There was an instance at a campground in San Francisco. It was so incredibly windy that our slide toppers, there's a top that goes over the slide to help keep from rain and snow and that kind of thing, debris getting on top of the slide into your house. And those were moving so much because it was so windy that we had to sleep with the slides in.
Yeah.
And the way that our rig is set up, and we have a rig tour that you can see, but it's set up so that we can still access everything. And that was very important to us.
Yeah, we didn't know that at the time that was important. But then after going in some RVs and seeing like, hey, there's nowhere for our kids to sleep. Or, a lot of the new Class A's have a foldable king bed. So if you can't put your bed slide out, you can't lay your bed flat. And so those are things you might not think about, like, hey, if there's a situation where I can't put this slide out, how am I going to sleep?
Yeah.
And there's a lot of travel trailers and fifth wheels where people just cannot get to their beds without putting slides out. So those are things you just kind of have to think about. Like, hey, if we're in a situation or we can't put our slide out, where are we going to sleep?
Yep.
And we want to sleep in an RV, not a hotel.
Yes, that's why we bought this.
We've seen RVs parked at hotels. I'm like, that really stinks. They have to go inside a hotel to sleep inside of your RV. So, any other apps or things that we utilize on a consistent basis that you can think of that they should know about?
Instagram. Follow us on Instagram.
Yeah.
@the_party of 6.
So we post
Number
more.
6.
We are more up to date on Instagram than we are YouTube
And Facebook.
So definitely go check out our Instagram page if you haven't already.
Yes.
But I think that's it for today.
Yeah, or if you know of an app that has really helped you in any way with traveling, let us know. Put it in the comments below.
One more I just thought of that we've looked at but have not used is Boondockers Welcome.
Yes.
We actually have friends that are hosts for Boondockers Welcome, and they love it. And then another one's like Campendium. What's the Dirt?
The Dirt.
Is it
I think
DYRT?
it's DY, yeah.
So that's one if you like boondocking. There's one called Dirt that's geared towards boondocking. A lot of these you have to pay to be members of. And so we just haven't, like the Boondockers Welcome is similar to Harvest Host, where that is actually private residence. So you can, sign up and stay at someone's house, which some people love, especially if you're boondocking. Sometimes they provide some kind of power and water, or some even have full hookups. Our friends have full hookups down in Texas. So
yeah.
Vlogmas.
Day 19. I got it.
We'll see you real soon.
All right. See you real soon.
Come, all ye faithful, joyful and triumphant, come ye